Look who's all grown up. It's Prince George, who's celebrating turning 11. Mom, Princess Kate, snapped the photo, which was posted with the message, wishing Prince George a very happy 11th birthday today. In a dark sports coat and button-down shirt,
the United Kingdom found itself holding its collective breath on a day that was supposed to be filled with festivities such as cake, balloons, and laughter from children. It didn't take long for what was supposed to be a typical birthday celebration for the royal family to become a moment that would forever be ingrained in the collective consciousness of the nation, all because of a single young boy. As the eldest son of Prince William and Princess Catherine, Prince George of Wales, who was also the heir apparent to the throne, had recently turned 7 years old. The majority of children his age celebrate their birthdays with a variety of games and presents. On the other hand, destiny had something very different in store for this young royal. Nobody, not even the royal family, was able to anticipate it to happen. Presidents of the United States, dignitaries from other countries, and extended members of the royal family were all gathered at Windsor Castle. There was a private garden event that had been planned, and it was filled with press coverage that had been carefully curated and warm well wishes. As the world watched, they anticipated photographs, a courteous wave, and possibly a few words from the prince's parents, who were overjoyed to see their son. However, the events that transpired instead sent shockwaves throughout the monarchy and even further afield. As the moment arrived, Prince George stood confidently in front of a microphone, surrounded by his mother and father. The conversation came to a complete halt as soon as the moment arrived. An event that started out as a birthday celebration would quickly become one of the most talked about royal moments in recent history. In just a few minutes, a prince who was only 7 years old managed to seize the attention of an entire nation with words that seemed to be far beyond his years. He did this with calm composure and startling clarity. It was not merely a child reading a cue card in this instance. This young royal was sending a message, and it was not just to the people of Britain, it was to the entire world. Furthermore, by the time he had finished his speech, the audience had done more than just applaud. They were standing. It was a tear. It was their belief. On that particular morning, the grounds of Windsor Castle were spotless. Every hedge had been trimmed, and every flower bed was blooming as if nature itself had been aware that something extraordinary was about to make its appearance. What is the event? July 7th, the birthday of Prince George. An achievement that, according to all expectations, was supposed to be sweet, uncomplicated, and steeped in the tradition of the royal family. Guests arrived dressed in tailored suits and pastels, displaying an elegant appearance. Interacting with ambassadors from other countries was the Queen Consort. Handshakes were exchanged between representatives of the Prime Minister and royal cousins. Children from the surrounding schools were invited to participate in the garden celebrations, which lends an air of warmth and a sense of playfulness to the moment. There was tea, scones, and miniature flags of the Union Jack placed on each table. Crown-shaped balloons made their way through the air as the breeze blew. And in the middle of it all, standing next to his parents with a shy smile, was Prince George himself, the young man who was born into a legacy. While the crowd was congregating around the central pavilion, a few dignitaries delivered brief speeches. In each of their remarks, they congratulated the young prince on reaching the age of 7 and praised his poise and appealing personality. With a few words from Prince William, a photo opportunity with the royal family, and a return to tea and cake, the guests anticipated that this would be the final event. However, after that, an unexpected occurrence took place. The podium was rolled out in a small size, a microphone that was adjusted. Without being asked to do so, Prince George took the initiative to speak up, by oneself. There was a wave of silence that came through the crowd. During the moment that the young royal was firmly grasping the edges of the podium with both hands, even his parents appeared surprised and exchanged quick glances with one another. The cameras went into a frenzy of clicking. The attendees leaned in closer, unsure of what was taking place. Prince George looked out over the audience and started speaking, despite the fact that he did not have a script in front of him and he did not have a speech in his hands. What unfolded after that was neither a rehearsed recital nor a heartwarming thank you from a child. The nation would be stunned, the world would be inspired, and people's perceptions of the future of the monarchy would be reshaped as a result of this moment. Due to the fact that this was no longer merely a birthday celebration, a new chapter in history was about to begin. As soon as Prince George took his first steps towards the podium, there was a discernible change in the atmosphere. An uncanny stillness engulfed the crowd, and the chattering of the people in the crowd subsided. The clinking of teacups stopped in the middle of their motion. Each and every guest, each and every guard, and each and every breath that was being held was aware in some way that they were about to witness something that was different. While his hands were carefully placed on the wooden podium, his face was calm and almost unnervingly calm. His small frame stood against the backdrop of towering royal banners. However, something in his eyes suggested that he was not thinking about legacy or lineage. Rather, he was thinking about the message that he was about to deliver. The young prince was dressed in a navy suit that had finely tailored and polished shoes. He appeared to be every bit the future king. During that brief moment, even his parents appeared to be stunned. Princess Catherine reached out to grab Prince William's hand without thinking, while the two of them remained silent and respectful about the situation. While sitting in her chair, Queen Camilla leaned forward. As they looked around, nearby dignitaries raised their eyebrows, uncertain as to whether or not this had been planned. But nobody moved at all. And then he began to speak. The first thing he said was, "Good afternoon," and his voice was clear and steady, with each syllable carrying weight. "Everyone who came to celebrate my birthday is very much appreciated. Even though I am still a child, I would like to make a statement that is very significant today." There was a wave of surprise that spread throughout the crowd. It was a rehearsal, right? Was he reading a speech that he had prepared? Cue cards and teleprompters were not available at the time. He was just a young boy, barely taller than the podium, and he was able to command a room full of world leaders, nobles, and journalists with nothing but grace and quiet confidence. Not in terms of grandeur, but rather in terms of simplicity, there was something so powerful about the moment. It was a child speaking his truth, unaffected by pomp and without the influence of consultants or advisors. A performance was not what it was. Yes, it was true. Moreover, that genuineness struck a chord that was deeper than anyone could have anticipated. As he continued to speak, people's hearts started to beat faster. The eyes started to well up with tears. By the time the first minute was over, even the most seasoned officials were aware of the following. This wasn't just a speech for someone's birthday. The world needed to hear this message, and it came from the voice that was the most improbable of all their voices. The stage was occupied by Prince George, and no one was able to hide their gaze. Over the course of his speech, Prince George's voice, which remained high and unmistakably childlike, became increasingly powerful with each word. The only sounds that could be heard in the room were the gentle rustling of leaves and the faint clicking of cameras. All of the attention was focused on a young boy who appeared to possess a level of wisdom that was far beyond his years. After pausing for a moment, he announced, "Today is my birthday," while a soft smile appeared on his charming face. "In addition to my family and friends, I am thankful for each and every one of you. Nevertheless, I have also been contemplating something more significant, which is our world and the manner in which we care for it, as well as for one another." The crowd drew closer, completely enthralled. Guests, including members of the press, politicians, diplomats, children, and members of the royal family, were all caught in Prince George's gaze. His body did not flinch. It is not enough to simply reside in a castle or wear a crown in order to be considered a royal, as I have learnt from both my parents and my Gangan, who passed away not too long ago. It entails assisting other people. To care about the environment is what it means. Having kindness, even when it's difficult, is what it means. The story he told was straightforward, but it had a profound impact on him. It was about Prince Louis and Princess Charlotte planting a tree in the garden of the palace. Together, we dug a hole and planted a small tree in the center of it. The words of my sister, "This tree will grow as we grow," are something that I believe to be true for each and every one of us. The world is a better place if we contribute to the growth of things and if we assist individuals. The adults in the crowd looked at each other, and some of them blinked back tears as they did so. A rapt attention was shown by the children as they listened, as if they were witnessing a real prince for the very first time. "There are children in this country and all over the world who do not have as much as I do," George continued. "I am an extremely fortunate child. There are some who are thirsty, lonely, or afraid. On the occasion of my birthday, I would like to make a request to everyone that they perform one act of kindness, just one, for another person." Because of the sincerity of his words, A few people in the crowd let out a muffled gasp. In the absence of any bravado or royal bravura, there was nothing but a quiet and sincere appeal for compassion. When he continued, he said, "And please think about the earth. Because we only have one, it is up to us to make sure that it is taken care of. I believe my father when he says that even the smallest amount is beneficial. Thank you for being here, for listening to me, and for believing that even a child can make a difference," George said, as he concluded his speech with a heartfelt thank you. "When I am older, I want to become someone who makes you proud. But for the time being, let us begin by treating one another with kindness." He took a step back and looked at his parents for reassurance before continuing. An expression of both pride and awe could be seen on the faces of Prince William and Princess Catherine. There was a message of unity, empathy, and hope that was delivered by a young boy who was not yet a man. The crowd remained silent as they processed what they had just heard. It was then that the applause started, and it was not polite or perfunctory. Rather, it was thunderous and rising up in waves. It was as if a dam had broken. At that very instant, the United Kingdom and the rest of the world witnessed not only a future king, but also a capable leader. 7-year-old boy had just communicated with the very essence of a nation. Because of this, I will never forget it. 2.2%. Following the moment that Prince George retreated from the podium, there was a brief period of time during which nobody moved. There was complete and utter silence in the garden at Windsor Castle, which is so frequently used as a backdrop for royal formality occasions. Everyone who was there appeared to require a brief pause in order to completely comprehend what had just taken place. It started then, just like a wave that had just broken free. It was not polite ripples of applause that erupted, but rather waves of thunderous, heartfelt applause. There was a spontaneous standing ovation that spread like wildfire throughout the crowd, and all of the guests rose to their feet at the same time. A wide range of people, including children, foreign dignitaries, experienced politicians, and palace staff, all clapped with unrestrained emotion. Many people were crying in their eyes. Some people shed tears. Despite the fact that his eyes were clearly glassy, Prince William placed a steady hand on his son's shoulder. The expression on Princess Catherine's face was one of both pride and awe as she tried to wipe a tear from her cheek. A handkerchief was used by Queen Camilla to dab her eyes, and even King Charles, who was seated nearby and watching the event, was seen nodding slowly, his eyes misty and his expression thoughtful. Even those members of the press who were the most skeptical were momentarily silenced. Their pens came to a halt as they lowered their cameras. It was a rare occasion when they were not pursuing headlines. Rather, they were witnesses to history. After some time had passed, a reporter would write, "During those brief moments, a child brought to our attention the sound of genuine leadership. There will be no politics. There are no guarantees. The unadulterated truth." As the applause continued, Prince George made a modest bow and then walked back to his seat. His face was slightly flushed, but he maintained his composure. He was completely unaware of the firestorm that he had just stoked, which was not one of scandal, but of hope. Because a future king had spoken in that garden on that birthday, in front of the eyes of the entire world, while everyone was watching. At the same time, his nation stood in awe of him. The ripple effect was felt far beyond the royal gardens of Windsor Castle within a matter of moments after the conclusion of Prince George's speech. A match was lit on dry straw, and social media exploded into flames. Within a matter of minutes, the hashtag number Prince George speech became a trending topic all over the world, and it quickly took over social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook with videos of the 7-year-old's touching words. The video was viewed and re-watched by millions of people who were awestruck by the young prince's complete composure and the unfiltered sincerity of his message. One version of the speech that was uploaded to TikTok amassed more than 20 million views in less than 12 hours, and it was accompanied by emotional reactions, duets, and stitched videos from users all over the world. One of the commenters wrote, "I never thought I'd cry over a 7-year-old prince, but here we are." Many people, including politicians, activists, and celebrities, voiced their admiration and awe for the individual. Actors from Hollywood lauded his bravery, Environmental activists emphasized his dedication to the planet, and humanitarian organizations from all over the world praised his call for acts of kindness and action. The fact that this was something different was something that even outspoken critics of the monarchy had to admit. The story was told in a loud and clear manner by international headlines. The Guardian published an article titled, "Prince George Delivers Message Beyond His Years." The Times referred to the book as "The Little Prince Who Spoke Like a King." An emotional speech delivered by a 7-year-old royal sends shockwaves through the United Kingdom, CNN. Teachers played the video in their classrooms in order to stimulate conversations about empathy and leadership respectively. Churches made mention of it in their sermons on Sundays. The boy's emotional intelligence was lauded by advocates for mental health professionals, and in homes all over the world, parents watched alongside their children, taking inspiration from the fact that even the voices of the youngest children can carry the significance of the most profound information. The response of love from people living in countries other than the United Kingdom was perhaps the most unexpected. The prince's grace and vision were celebrated in a flood of messages that came from all over the world, from India to Canada, South Africa to Japan. The entire world was not merely impressed, rather, it was moving. This was not merely a moment that went viral. It was a child who chose his birthday not to ask for gifts, but rather to give the world a reason to believe in something better. This choice was the catalyst for a cultural shift that ultimately occurred. The people of the United Kingdom had not just been addressed by Prince George. He addressed the entire human race. The days that followed the remarkable birthday speech that Prince George delivered, royal commentators, historians, and leadership experts flooded the media with analysis and praise. Was this the moment that Britain witnessed its future king step into his role, years ahead of schedule? This was the central question that was echoed across newsrooms and television panels. Eleanor March, a well-known royal biographer, made the following observation. "We've seen royal heirs wave from balconies and attend state dinners, but we've never seen one at 7 deliver a speech that moved a nation." George did not merely utter words. He was in charge, and he did it with a greater degree of sincerity than the majority of adults who hold public office. The comparisons to his late grandmother, Princess Diana, were made almost immediately and were used extensively. As was the case with Diana, George demonstrated an unfiltered emotional connection to the general public and an innate comprehension of compassion as a source of power. Henry Alden, a commentator for the BBC, is quoted as saying, "You can't teach empathy. Either it is something that comes naturally to you, or it is not." Additionally, we are already witnessing it in George. Several individuals pointed to his father, Prince William, as a significant influence on him. According to Lisa Denton, a special correspondent for the royal family, William has always walked the line between duty and modern fatherhood. And now we see the fruits of that parenting. George is self-assured, compassionate, and aware of the world around him, the author writes. In fact, leadership coaches started bringing up the young royal in conversations about candidates for the next generation of leadership. His emphasis on being kind, being responsible for the environment, and having global unity had echoes of modern leadership ideals, which were very different from the strict monarchy that existed in the former days. On a televised panel, however, Archbishop Thomas Wren was the one who expressed it most eloquently. "A child's words, when spoken from the heart, are heard by the entire world. Furthermore, when that child is born to lead and speaks in such a manner, it would be prudent for us to begin listening even more." Perhaps Prince George is only 7 years old. However, many people believe that he has already started his reign in spirit over the world. A celebration was planned for Prince George's 7th birthday, and it was supposed to be a low-key and sophisticated event that was fitting for a young royal. On the other hand, what the entire world saw that day was something much more significant. Within a short period of time, a young person emerged from the shadow of legacy and into the light of leadership. There was no mention of power, privilege, or duty in his speech. In his speech, he discussed the future, unity, and kindness. Even the most elderly members of the royal family were taken aback by the weight of his voice, which was still brimming with the innocence of youth. It was through this action that he brought to the attention of an entire nation, and possibly the entire world, the fact that greatness can originate from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the smallest voices say the most profound things. The delivery of the speech by Prince George was not a rehearsed performance. It was an eye-opening moment for me. Of course, it was a reflection of his upbringing, but more than that, it was a window into the heart of the man who would one day become king. As the applause reverberated throughout Windsor Castle and on every screen that displayed his words, it became abundantly clear that this was not merely another significant moment in the history of the royal family. It was a defining moment in time. For the very first time, the general public was able to see more than just a young boy growing up behind the walls of the palace. They witnessed a leader, a sign of optimism and optimism. It is a voice for the future. The responsibility that comes with the crown appears to already be resting on his young shoulders in a way that is both gentle and confident, despite the fact that it may not be for many years. If Prince George wanted to speak like a king, he didn't wait until he became king. Already, he has done so.